Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the city of Tokyo. It is Japan's most populated city and one of the most important cities in Southeast Asia. Tokyo, as it is of today, it is the most populated metropolitan area in the world and in Asia. It has a total population of 37 million people only residing in it. However, this number is potentially decreasing. It is expected that in the year 2030, 500,000 people will be decreased from this total number. Now, you may be wondering, how does a city this big like Tokyo provide the necessary resources for its inhabitants like water, food, public transportation, education of quality, and the necessary jobs? Well, don't worry because these answers will be answered briefly. Now, let's start off with public transportation. First, we have the subway, which is the busiest underground network in the world. Around 3.1 billion people rode around the city in 2013. But just how effective is the subway system in Tokyo? Well, it's actually very efficient. It has around of 268 stations and a total of 13 lines covering 304 kilometers wide. This, adding the excellent organization of Japanese people, allows it to be the best underground system around the world, daily transporting around a total of 9 million people. 80% of the water resources of Tokyo come from the Tonegawa and Arakawa river systems, and around 20% comes from the Tama river system. Tokyo is one of the most polluted cities in the world. Around a week, a stay in Tokyo, it is equal to 4.25 cigarettes in the most polluted areas and 2 cigarettes in the less polluted areas. This is a very serious matter because it has a PM of 2.5 that causes very significant damage to your lungs. Now, this air pollution mainly comes from vehicle emission and factory fumes, with improbable level of nitrous oxides. The authorities have established a plan to reduce this PM 2.5 by 2030, mainly through subsidizing electric vehicles and continuing to tighten regulations on diesel vehicles and industry. Now, when we talk about education, in Tokyo, it is one of the best in the world. The school participation rate for the years of compulsory education in Japan is one of the highest in the world at 99.8% of students attending to school. The city of Tokyo has an annual GDP of 2.5 trillion US dollars, boosted by its high-end technology. And if it was a country, Tokyo would be the sixth wealthiest nation on the planet, ahead of France, India, Italy, and Brazil. Now, let's take a look at Tokyo's CO2 emissions. So, in this image, we can see that gasoline is the main CO2 exponent in Tokyo, having a total of 5.57 mt and CO2. Now, regarding energy derived CO2 emissions, we can see that Tokyo is on the rise, having a percentage of increment of 2.6% and a total amount of 5,900 tons of CO2 produced. In CO2, Tokyo registered an amount of 8.77 metric tons per capita. Tokyo is one of the most sustainable cities all around in Asia. It has different alternatives for car usage, like very good public transportation. It has bike rentals. Then the electric gas station, it has a plan that around 2030, a lot of the gas stations will be fully electric. It has a lot of green spaces, being one of the most green cities in the whole Japan. The water conservation and waste management is improving right now. It has a plan for 2025 to be among the lowest cities in water residual expenses. Now, in support urban farming, it is very very optimal because the food they get it's based on vegetarian food and implement green architecture. It is one of the most green architecture cities around Asia as well. To conclude, we can say that Tokyo is a role example to lead on sustainable cities, since it has very good transportation system, very good education quality, very good levels of pollution regarding its number of inhabitants. Now, of course, Tokyo has its flaws, but in general, we can say that it is a very good city.